I watched an hour and a half long meeting with Trump and all the generals we all heard about, so you don't have to. I'm about to create a series of my personal highlights of everything that was said. In order, besides this first one, I'm about to show y'all because I believe it's the most important. So be sure to check all my pages just in case any of these platforms want to be sensitive because it's about to get deep.
We are rapidly moving forward with the first ever sixth generation fighter jet. I didn't name it. I did not name it. Boeing came in and they said, sir, this is our submittal. It's the greatest fighting jet ever done. And you know, they're testing all these planes, all the companies are testing, and this one tested like through the roof. And they said, we'd like to name it the F-47. I said, let me think about it. Then after thinking for about 2 seconds, I said, okay. You know what that means, 47, I'm 47. So I'm 45, 46, and 47, you know, if you think about it. I just don't want the credit for 46. I don't want to have their open borders and people coming in from all over the world, including jails and mental institutes. I don't want that on my record, but I like having it. We're investing tens of billions of dollars in modernizing our nuclear deterrence capabilities like never before. And we've begun construction on what we call the Golden Dome missile defense shield. It'll be the most sophisticated in the world. You watched it do well until they had some problems at the end with a little bit of a lack of ammunition, defensive ammunition, but they've got that taken care of. But I tell you, it's what we're doing is so good, and we deserve it. You know, we help other countries with it. We don't have it ourselves. And Canada called me a couple of weeks ago. They want to be part of it. To which I said, well, why don't you just join our country? You become 51 and become the 51st state, and you get it for free. So I don't know if that made a big impact, but it does make a lot of sense. It actually makes, because they're having a hard time up there in Canada now, because as you know, with tariffs, everyone's coming into our country. We have more investment than we've ever had before, $17 trillion coming in. As an example, in 4 years, Biden didn't have $1 trillion. We have 17 trillion more than that in 8 months coming in. And they're coming in from Canada, Mexico, from Europe, from all over. AI, auto plants. Everybody's coming back to the United States.
When he said he was the 45th, 46th, and 47th president, but he don't want to take credit for the 46th, it's because the demon ranch took over, the hostile takeover of the government that already happened. I always tell y'all to watch that Trump True Purpose video because it shows everything they was planning on doing that Trump was reversing before the reset. So I'm about to show you a clip of this video I made back in 2023, proving to y'all that Trump never finished his term and Biden was never the president. Everyone thought he was because they controlled the media.
Here's Alex Azar. Was there not a Czar, Alexander, that started wars everywhere? This is history repeating itself. So do y'all remember when Trump was downplaying the situation in the very beginning by saying he's an alarmist, everything's under control, and his most famous line is just one person coming from China. Also note, it says the Trump administration wasn't planning on declaring a public health emergency. I know it may not sound like a lot, but as long as he delayed it, he literally saved millions of people with all the delays he created in their plan. Because once again, he believes in free will, not the coercion, because they have to face their karma for that. So eventually, Alex Azar went ahead and issued the public health emergency. This forced Trump to issue a national emergency. When he issued a national emergency, he gave up all of his power to FEMA. This is why immediately after he declares a national prayer day, because he knows the power of manifestation, and he knew he lost all control over the situation. So that was his final attempt for us to use our power to prevent this whole thing from happening. So FEMA isn't what we think it is. We all should have known that when we seen them coffins all around the country. And it was for this particular reason for what they're planning right now. FEMA was created in a series of executive orders. A presidential executive order, or whether constitutional or not, becomes law simply by its publication in the Federal Registry. Congress is bypassed. Executive Order 12148 created a federal emergency management agency that is to interface with the Department of Defense and the Civil Defense Planning and Funding. A emergency czar will be appointed. So back to this guy, Alex Azar. He is the one that initiated a public health emergency, which forced Trump to issue a national emergency, which led to him losing power and giving it all to FEMA. So he's the one that initiated the pandemic. And what makes this so obvious is his name. He is a czar, right? And he issued the emergency. Not only that, he was the first chairman of the White House House Source 19 task force for only 1 month, meaning he only came in to initiate the war. So back to the executive orders. EO number 12656. This is what allowed the lockdowns and gives them the right to federalize the National Guard to seal all borders and take control of U.S. airspace and all ports of entry.
As y'all can see, at the end of the clip, we are literally at the beginning of the end. Because clearly back then, I said it starts when they federalize the National Guard, in which they are clearly doing right now. But I'm gonna keep on telling y'all, he literally is reversing everything he's planning on doing on us to them. So when Trump issued that national emergency this time, he already knew what to do. And this is why they had the nationwide injunctions, all in order to stop Trump's executive orders, because he was targeting them, the elites, the ones that oppressed everybody, because they knew his executive orders bypassed the Congress. And we all know what con means, and if you don't know what gress means, it means a step. So they progressively taking steps back. That's what Congress really means. And clearly he opposes Congress. So when the national emergency happened, right, FEMA was supposed to be activated. But instead of FEMA, guess who was activated this time? It was a Doge. And I explained that to y'all through my videos. Go through all my videos. I'm putting everything down to y'all, but now everything's coming down to the end and it all makes sense. So Doge replaced FEMA. And as y'all can see, FEMA interfaces with the Department of Defense. And as you can see, the Department of Defense is now the Department of War. It has changed. Y'all remember back in the day when Trump was trying to build that wall to separate us from Mexico? But all the demons convinced everybody that it was bad? It's because he knew their plans the whole time. As y'all can see, he talking about they bringing the criminals through the borders. As y'all can see through the videos from back in the day, it wasn't just quote unquote Mexicans, it was people from all around the world coming across the Mexico border. And a lot of them was military aged men, just in case y'all forgot. And they already had bank cards. And on the other end, they bring in the specialists that also work for the Department of Defense, as I broke that down in my Truth About Visas video. They'll use them to bring the quote unquote, like I say, specialists through here, which would be the doctors. As y'all know, people had an uproar about that recently because they upped the visas to $100,000 a year. Also, he talks about the Golden Dome. As y'all can see, I made a video a few months ago about that, in which correlates to the Trump True Purpose video also. And I'll explain how we try to make peace around the world, and the ones close by, trying to get them to join into the states to be included in the Golden Dome. Because I believe he is the one that's going to set off the trumpets of the apocalypse because of the asteroids. So I always try to explain all the bloodlines here. I'm going to keep it simple. Some are immortal, meaning they cannot die, and some are mortal, meaning they can die. And those are the ones he's trying to save. He will have control over the ones that wasn't sent to the underworld, while the immortal ones are free to roam Earth and the universe. There still will be people that need to be governed on the mortal side. So right now, he's just making sure none of the real evil ones make it through somehow, because they have too much knowledge. The universal laws never changes, and our enemies somehow created deceptive loopholes. But like I said, this is about to be a series, and this is just part 1. Anyways, I hope y'all picked up what I put down. Y'all know how I keep it. Y'all be gods. Peace.